Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and hope you are doing well. Today is 12th of January 2026. It's Monday today. So our today's article is about India's maritime policy, how it has evolved and what lies ahead. So this is gonna be about maritime policy. So let's start. ये है INSV Kaundinya. INSV is Indian Navy sailing vessel. So let's start reading about it. It's gonna be very informative. ये actually informative होने वाला है. India's maritime policy has undergone significant evolution, intricately linked to its historical and geographical context, as explored in the Routledge Handbook of Maritime India. The handbook delves into India's rich maritime history and strategic relationships across the Indian Ocean. So इंडियाज मेरीटाइम पॉलिसी है वो उसने सिग्निफिकेंट एवोल्यूशन के अंडरगॉन किया है एंड वो एक हिस्टोरिकली एंड जियोग्राफिकली इट इज़ बीइंग लिंक्ड जिसमें कि इंडियन ओशन के बारे में मेरीटाइम हिस्ट्री एंड स्ट्रैटेजिक रिलेशनशिप होने वाला है. So let's start reading about it. Hope you're also excited to read this. The two most prominent geographical features of the Indian subcontinent, with India at its center, are the Himalayas and the Indian Ocean. They are not only defined India's geographical boundaries but also shaped its history, culture, and civilization. While foreigners came to India through the land route in the north to establish empires, some great and some not so great in the south of the Vindhyas, where the presence of the sea is constant. India's sail east and west for trade, cultural change, and the occasional conquest. So this is about the very two important features, geographical features of Indian subcontinent, which are Himalayas and the Indian Ocean. And these have shaped history, culture, and civilization. Civilization, you have heard about various civilizations. इंडस वैली civilization थे, फिर बाकी आगे आगे चेंज होता गया. So this is all about that. In this broad historical context, a question arises. Now there is a question which arises: what is the significance of maritime domain for India? As viewed through the lenses of history, strategy, economics, and technology. A comprehensive and scholarly work, the Routledge Handbook of Maritime India, edited by Alluri, Subramaniam Raju, and R. Srinivasan, presents a multidimensional response to this fundamental question. So, in this, it is being given a question that what is the significance of maritime? What is the significance of these oceans and these domains for India? So, let me tell you that you must know that our southern part is almost surrounded by oceans, water bodies basically. So, water bodies are very important and its significance is also huge. On maritime history, history has taught us all pervading significance of the maritime domain. The capabilities of Indian sailors to reach the far corners of the West and the East in the ancient and medieval times is a source of pride and inspiration. As Jawaharlal Nehru observed, history has shown that whatever power controls the Indian Ocean has, in the first instance, India's seaborne trade at her mercy, and in the second, India's very independence itself. So it is being told that in the history it is being seen that people have sailed to the various corners like the west and the east in the ancient time, and it is actually very inspirational and motivating. And this is also proof that whosoever has power to control Indian Ocean has been emerging so far. The first part of the handbook comprises five essays by different scholars, traces the historical evolution of India's outward reach, focusing on the Cholas, the Marathas, Europeans, and Indo-Arab maritime trade. Author N. Manoharan called the Cholas the nautical tigers. The chapter on scholar diplomat K.M. Panikkar critically analyzes his idea and establishes their continuing relevance to contemporary geopolitics. Varun Saini, in his futuristic take, urges that the Indian Ocean needs to be viewed less as a space, an ocean of transit, and more as a place, the home of a majority of the world's human population and settlement. So, in this para, it is being told that about the book. So, what it's written in the first part of the book. So, it's been about the five S's where the Marathas, Cholas, Europeans, Indo-Arab maritime trade. About them, it is being mentioned in that book. India's maritime strategy. Chapters in the book shed light on India's strategy and relations with multiple nations, including Australia, Japan, France, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, and China. India took the initiative to demarcate its maritime boundaries with all its neighbors and succeeded in every case except Pakistan. So this is you must be knowing about कि पाकिस्तान के साथ we अभी तक the fixed border has not been fixed. They later delayed a settlement based on motivated assumption. Who Will's chapter on Sino Indian maritime rivalry offers a deep dive into the thinking of Chinese and Indian scholars and recommends extensive discussion between the two governments to lay down the rules of engagement on the high seas. The aim should be prevent to clash of interests that are detrimental to both nations. So this is in this paragraph it is being told about the relationship with multiple nations like Japan, France, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, China, and also how we have demarcated the maritime borders with all the neighbors, but except Pakistan, and also about Sino-Indian maritime rivalry. So इसके बारे में भी उस book में बताया गया है. So that's being told in this paragraph. Let's The reason for the turnaround in the mid 1980s in India Australia ties in maritime domain, the essential similarities between India and Japan, and the rationale of the Indo Pacific vision for India and France maritime multilateralism. In another cluster of four chapters, the book endeavors to analyze maritime institutions, connectivity, and governments of the following South Asian states: India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and China. Zhu Zhenxing presents a comparative analysis on the maritime security governance of India and China to bring out the risk of zero-sum game evolving owing to the US influence. He recommends joint consultative mechanism to advance maritime development. R. Srinivasan chapter on Sri Lanka demonstrate how pitfalls such as corruption, clan politics, and lack of enlightened leadership drive nations to join China's Belt and Road Initiative, thereby undermining sound maritime governance. So in this para, they have been told about कि कैसे इन्होंने एनालाइज किया है मेरिटाइम इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कनेक्टिविटी देखी गई है टुवर्ड्स साउथ एशियन स्टेट्स लाइक इंडिया बांग्लादेश श्रीलंका एंड चाइना एंड ऑल्सो they have to bring out the risk of the zero sum game evolving जो यूएस का इन्फ्लुएंस है उसे एक्चुअली टू रिड्यूस करके एंड साउथ एशियन नेशन collectively will do the maritime security. So it is being told in this paragraph. As per the handbook, India has been doing quite well in shaping its maritime power projection. In the first decade of the century, the Indian Navy played a stellar role in curbing piracy in the Arabian Sea. So in the first decade of the century, the जो Indian Navy थी उन्होंने काफी अच्छा there was a piracy going on in Arabian Sea, so they have played a very important role over there. This marked the Navy's transformation from an observer into a net security provider. Two other chapters provide a critical analysis on ongoing geopolitical rivalries. One argues for a hedging system that consider the US strategy for the Indo-Pacific, while other advocates for increasing India's maritime presence, thereby creating a political and economic confluence of like-minded regional powers. Other assists have shed light on India's vision, strength, and partnership in the Indo-Pacific, a concept that has dominated strategic discourse over the past 2 decades. In recent years, its salience has been eroded somewhat by crises in other geographies Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, Red Sea, and Venezuela, as well as the new US National Security Strategy NSS 2025, which takes a softer view of China as an economic competitor rather than as a geographical adversary. How India needs to be refined its Indo-Pacific strategy in the context warrants a separate debate. So basically, in this paragraph, they have been told about the how Indo-Pacific Ocean could be geographically adversary and वहाँ पे कितना इकोनॉमिक कॉम्पिटिटर है और उसको कैसे प्रॉपरली स्ट्रैटेजिकली उसको रिफाइन किया जा सकता है उसका वहाँ पे मैरीटाइम प्रेजेंस कैसे इंक्रीज किया जा सकता है सो दैट्स बीइंग टोल्ड इन दैट बुक. The final cluster of 7 chapters addresses economic and technological development in the maritime domain, a variety of topics ranging from underwater domain awareness and underwater systems to maritime security. The blue economy revolution and shift, climate resilience, and coastal security have been addressed in a highly thoughtful manner with an abiding interest in all dimensions of the blue economy. The contributors have successfully packed the handbook with latest research and analysis to benefit readers. Recommendation made in this volume merit close consideration by policymakers. So it is being told that about the 7 chapters that addresses about the economic and technological development and कैसे ब्लू इकोनॉमी रेवोल्यूशन का शिफ्ट हुआ है क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंस हुआ है कोस्टल सिक्योरिटीज को कैसे एड्रेस किया गया है ब्लू इकोनॉमी बेसिकली कैसे एनहेंस की गई है तो इट इज बीइंग टोल्ड तो बेसिकली इन दिस आर्टिकल इट वाज ऑल अबाउट द बुक एंड उस बुक में क्या क्या गिवन है इट वाज ऑल अबाउट दैट दिस वाज द होल आर्टिकल you can go through it once again and thank you.